Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. तस्मै श्री Gurave Namaha. We are in Amrutanubhava, OV number 4, and we are looking at Jnana Khandana. The previous chapter was about denying ignorance, that something called ignorance cannot exist. It is not possible, and it was proved beyond doubt by our Jnaneshwar Maharaj. Now he is denying knowledge, that knowledge also is not possible. Why? Because these are just two concepts of the mind. And from the absolute point of view, both, firstly, the mind does not exist. From absolute. And ignorance and knowledge are both concepts of the mind. They exist mutually. They coexist. And why we are talking in this way? Because Jnaneshwar Maharaj, this text is about his experience of realization. So what has he realized? This is what he has realized, that there is nothing called knowledge, there is nothing called ignorance. So here he says in the 4th OV of the Jnana Khandana, which is the 8th chapter, he says, Aho atme panina santo swasambiti na ghasavanto angi lagaliya na futo kaivalya hi. In this absolute being, neither my relative existence nor the thought knowledge are negated, nor has the supreme oneness brought any gain to me. Meaning, a realization is not a gain.
What page are we on, Paramananda?
767.
76. Long stuff. I thought the week before or something. Sorry.
Even after having arrived at the station called absolute existence, that I am, the relative experience is not denied. This is the transcendental nature of my being. Although functioning in the realm of relativity, one's essential nature is not conditioned by that relativity. So when I discover my essential being, my expression at this point as Jnana Deva is not denied. In the absolute, the relative experience is maintained, but the relative experience has no influence on the absolute being. Does a man, after he divorce, continue to be affected by the wife? Continue to be affected by the husband? Being the husband, that I am still a husband? If he is still a husband, then he is still thinking about his wife. He is still identified. He has not become original. See? If we have woken up, are we disturbed by the sleep? Are we attracted towards the sleep? If we are, then we have not given up the sleep. So what is our the journey of spiritual journey? That we go beyond the sense objects, we go beyond the body, we go beyond the mind, we come to establish ourselves in the truth. And how do we establish ourselves in the truth? As being the truth. And once we come to be, after that, the phenomena still continues. You will still continue to be the body, you will still continue to be the mother, you will still continue to be the father, you will still continue to feel hungry, you will still go to toilet, you will still talk, you will still see, hear, touch, feel, taste. The individuality, if the realization has taken place, why should I say if? Everyone is already. But when you have recognized this and you are that, after that this phenomena does not stop, it continues. Till when it will continue? Till this body is existing. But there is one difference. Right now we are slave to the phenomena, and once you come to realize the phenomena has got no sway over you, you do not get affected by the phenomena. It doesn't disturb you, it doesn't bring about a reaction out of you. There is no ownership of the phenomena. Everything is allowed to unfold the way it is, because it doesn't matter. Oh, this should not happen, otherwise what will happen, what will people say? Nothing. Who cares? Even the idea of who cares will not come to your mind, because you are not available to it. You are the only thing that you are available to is yourself. And how are you available to yourself? Without a thought. It is your direct experience. So once the wave becomes the water and recognizes that it is the water, the wave will continue. See? Where is the problem? Problem is when that consciousness, when the truth, as if, comes down to the level of the body, mind, intellect and the world, and starts thinking, starts identifying, I am this body, I am this mind, I am this intellect, I am this individual. And what has happened in realization? This I, which was in relation to body, mind, intellect, and the people and objects and places outside, has gone. It has come to be established in himself.
God, it's just
No, the identification is gone.
yeah. Image to
Now it has come to its original position. Once it has come to its original position, there is no question of getting identified again. There is no question of identified again. How is this possible? You have this experience also on a daily basis. In the night, you dream, you feel it is a real one. When you wake up, you are disidentified with the dream. Where was the dream? In the mind. It was very real when you were experiencing it. But when after you wake up, do you give it any value? Do you give it any value? Is it able to influence you? The children, the husbands, the wives, all the ownerships, the hunger, thirst, everything that was there in the dream, as fantastic as it may have been, does it influence you after you wake up? No. Imagine, just like you forget the dream, even after waking up, once we wake up from this waking dream, we will give no value to this waking world also. It will have got no sway over the conscious principle that I am. Therefore, there need not be any fear that after self-realization one will not be able to function through this individual body. Don't worry, the teacher is trying to pacify our mind. You are all worried. After realization, what will happen? Will I be able to conduct my duty? Will I be able to go to sleep? I enjoy pizza. Will I be able to enjoy the pizza? What will happen if there is disease or whatever? Everyone is afraid of their extinction, isn't it? That is the main thing, fear of death. Here he is saying, even after realization, the phenomena will continue. Right now you think you are the phenomena. After realization, you will take phenomena to be phenomena. You will not give it overdue importance. So he's, in one way he is telling, don't worry, body will continue. Only the perception will undergo a sea change. Earlier, I as an individual functioning in this body was suffering. Now, the eternal being functioning through this self, same body, is illuminating the suffering and not becoming the sufferer. So, what is the difference? Individuality is the reality, the conscious principle, owning the body, owning the mind, and eventually suffering due to identification. And we don't stop there at body and mind. We go out, we identify with the people, friends, objects, houses, cars, etc. And if something happens to something, then we are the sufferer. What is the change? The body will continue, the mind will continue, but after realization, there is no identification, meaning there is no owner of the world, there is no owner of the body, and there is no owner of the mind. Experiences will still happen, but there is no owner. Therefore, in this absolute being, first the relative experience is not denied, just as in the total space the room space is not denied, so also in the room space the pot space is not denied, but the reverse is not true. In the pot space, room space is denied, and in the room space the total space is denied because of the limitation of the pot wall or room wall. So also relative existence is in me. I am expressing through the relativity and yet not suffering because of the relativity. The disposition of the waters is that I am expressing and supporting through the ocean and the waves, but the ocean and the waves do not bring about a dent in me. I support all the oceans and all the waves without becoming many. There are many oceans, there are infinite number of waves, but what is the disposition of the water? I support and express through all of them without having gone through any division. Right now, our experience is only of division, separation, isn't it? Sense of otherness. This sense of otherness goes away. And a unified vision, a unified perception comes about. How will that come about? You cannot cultivate it. It will come only as a result of grace. Once we abide in the self. So here the example that is taken is pot space, room space and total space. Pot space conditioning is the wall of the pot. Room space conditioning is the walls. Space identified with the pot is called pot space. Space identified with the wall is called room space or house space. And outside these both, what is there? The total space. Is this total space other than the space in the room? No. Is the space other than the pot space? No. So, pot cannot realize that the space that I'm having is the total space. Why? Its attention is on the walls of the pot. Room space cannot recognize this because its attention is on the conditionings, limitations. But once by sadhana, by studies, by grace, it comes to realize The space in the pot and the room comes to realize that it is the total space. After that, the pot continues to be, the room continues to be that, but there is no ownership that I am the pot or I am the room, space. This freedom, which can never be contained or curtailed ever after. There is no question of fall afterwards. This is its glory. Second, in the absolute being, the thought knowledge is not negated in the self after realization. The thought knowledge is not negated, meaning you will not, the thoughts in the mind will continue to be afterwards. Once the wave realizes that it is water, waveness goes away, but the wave continues to be. Once the mind dissolves and gets real, and you come to realize yourself, after that, do we see realized masters not speaking, not thinking, not talking, not seeing, hearing, touching, and feeling? Thoughts continue, and that is what is told, that thoughts are not denied as a result of realization. Because what is that state of realization or abidance? Being the self, that which accepts everything, rejects nothing, but retains nothing. Retaining is possible when there is ownership. But there is no owner, so no impressions are getting created. It is accepting everything because other than it nothing else is. As long as your attention was on the conditionings, sense of difference was there. But once you come to the conscious principle, it alone is. Once the pot space has realized that it is the total space, then all the pots and all the rooms are in it. It's like this. It doesn't have to go from pot to pot. Oh, this pot also I am, this pot also I am, this room also I am, this also room I am. No. Instantaneously. Samvit is a word used in Yoga Shastra to indicate pure consciousness, where the division of I versus you has not taken place. The blue expression of Kali Mata or Krishna is indicative of the same truth. This Swasamviti, I amness, knowledge is not through a process of thought, of knowing an object of knowledge. So, this I amness, what we keep saying again and again, I'll repeat it again, that I am not because I think I am. I am is independently existing. You don't need a thought to come to the conclusion that you are. And that is what this is, Swamiji is telling here. This Swasamviti is the I amness, and it is a thought-free experience. Everyone knows. When you wake up, there is no thought and you know you are. Even right now, you know the thought because you are watching the thought. It is separate to you, therefore you know you are saying I amness. But do you need to say I am in order to be? No. In spite of that, there are so many moments of silence, but we still are. Knowledge expressed through thought is consciousness, broken down or reduced to the level of the mind, where the knower known knowledge Triputi is created. So what is this? Knowledge expressed through thought is consciousness. Which knowledge are they talking about? Is the infinite knowledge, the supreme knowledge, the self, the Paramatma, the pure consciousness, the reality, When it expresses through thought, it is called as consciousness. Remember, in one of the texts we did, that pure consciousness, when it passes through the prism of the mind, it dichomatizes into two. And what is that? The I thought, the subject, and that thought, the object. This I thought is now called as the consciousness. So, pure consciousness and I consciousness. This I consciousness is gets identified with all the objective thoughts and starts becoming the owner. Then what is spirituality? This I thought coming to realize that I am not a thought, but I am in spite of the thought. That's all. But we are stuck in that.
Pure consciousness, when it goes into the mind, I thought the mind and consciousness were the same thing. Or are you talking about when consciousness goes into the itself, sort of thing, there's a mind going on, thoughts going on?
So mind comes about only when there is interaction between the subject and the object. Don't try to work it out. It's just an explanation so that something we understand. When we use the word consciousness, that I am conscious, it is a thought. But pure consciousness is not a thought. Reality is not a thought. As long as it is a thought, you are far away from it. To abide in the reality as the reality, you don't need the thought. You have transcended the thought. So when we say consciousness and matter, we have used the word consciousness in order to express the life principle which is not inert. Matter is inert, automatically the opposite becomes something vibrant, which is consciousness. So consciousness and matter are coexisting, like subject and object are coexisting, husband and wife are coexisting, north and south are coexisting. Similarly, consciousness and matter are coexisting. But pure consciousness, the reality, the absolute, is not dependent on something. It is independent. This is all that they're trying to say here.
Okay.
After having arrived at the abode of absolute being, the thought knowledge is also not negated. One continues to have thought knowledge of the objective world as before. The thoughtless I amness knowledge is only a bhavana which the Jivan Mukta, a liberated sage, maintains in his inner vision. Just like a woman, a mother, not a woman, a mother is doing all activities in the house, but she's not stopping anything, but her attention is continuously on why the child has not come back home yet. Isn't it? You must have all gone through that, being the mothers, when the kid's very small. So, is thinking about your child who has not come back from school affected your performance in the outside world? You're still vacuuming, you're still cooking, you're still thinking, you're still sitting, walking, talking, whatever you are doing. You still reply to the phone calls. But all that is determined, in spite of all that activity going on, in the depths of your psyche, the attention is on the child. This is how a realized master functions. So you know how to do that. All you have to do is, there in that example, your attention is on some object. Here the attention is on the beingness, being. There in the previous example, it was a thought of the child. Now It is not a thought of the self. It is the self. And the functioning continues. Third, the Supreme Oneness has not brought about any gain to me. Realization is not a gain and nor a loss. Initially, we think that way, that we have to gain realization, gain the self, and we have to remove and we have to lose the identification with this world, isn't it? This is how we begin. I am not the world, I am not the senses, I am not the mind, I am not the body, I am not the intellect, and I am the self, I am the self, I am the self. This is how you come. But realization is not a gain and it is not a loss. Why? It is all inclusive. It is all inclusive. What will you lose? You were doing that I am not, I am not, I am not only because you were thinking you are the individual. Having realized, you come to, without any thought, come to know that I am all that there is. I cannot remove anything. I cannot lose anything. I cannot gain anything. Everything is happening within me. Creation of so many galaxies and planets and taking place in the cosmos, and at the same time so many galaxies and planets and suns are getting destroyed on a day-to-day basis in the entire universe. Is the space affected by it? Is the space affected by it? Come closer. Is your mind space affected by the millions and zillions of thoughts that are created and destroyed? So is there, for the mind, is there any loss and gain? No. When you identify with them, then there is loss and gain. But if you take it otherwise, if you take it just as an experience, the mental womb is there, mind womb is there. In it, so many thoughts are coming and going. From childhood till now, they have been coming and going. Exactly. Same way. The ocean is there. So many waves are coming and going. Because a wave has been created, has ocean become less? Because the wave has merged back into the ocean, has the ocean become more? Has the waters become more? No. This becomes the disposition of a realized master. That there is nothing, as a result of realization, he has not gained anything. Gain and loss is only for the individual. But realization is not an individual experience. Kaivalya is oneness without any difference. Neither Vijatiya Bheda or differences on account of divisions such as plants and animals, nor Sajatiya Bheda, differences on account of species such as cats, dogs, etc., nor Swagata Bheda, differences within the individual creation like head, stomach, tail, etc. Kevalata is where all these three differences, Bhedas, are totally absent. Kaivalya means the only one, the absolute. It is that where no differences are possible. You see the differences out there in the world. So first differences you see is between the Vijatiya Bhed, between different species. Human beings are not animals, animals are not insects, insects are within these are all, and insects are not the trees, trees are not the planets. It's all species difference. Second is Sajatiya. Within each species there are differences. Among human beings, each human being is different. Among the tree kingdom, Every tree is different. It may be having the same name. Each one is the banyan tree, but every banyan tree is having a different name. Every person is called here a human being, but every human being is a different human being. Sajatiya, differences. First was differences between different species. Second one is difference within the species. And the third is the differences within one unit of a species. So within one human being, the hands are not the legs, legs are not the head, head is not the nose, nose is not the eye, the front is not the back, and all the differences of this creation are covered in these three: Sajatiya, Vijatiya and Swagata Ved. All differences. That one, that reality, that absolute that I am is the one in which no differences of any sort. All these, and these are the three. None of these differences on account of different species, on account of differences within the species, or differences on account of one unit in a particular species. These differences are not valid. So what is this state of absolute mean? What is this Kevalata mean? What is this oneness equal to? Here it says, although the I is expressing from this point as the waker, I do not suffer on account of being a waker. Thus Vijatiya Bheda is removed because the waker is different from the dreamer and the dreamer is different from the deep sleeper. So what are the Vijatiya Bhed? Difference between the species. Waker is a different species to a dreamer. Dreamer is a different species to a deep sleeper. All these three are within me. Right now I think I am the waker, I am the dreamer, you are saying that, but you are not living it. So I am is common, but your attention is on the dream, the waking and the deep sleep. So the differences come about. So these three are Vijatiya Bhed. These three are not possible in the self. This self alone, this I alone is expressing as the waker, as the dreamer, as the deep sleeper. Again remember, passing through the prism of the mind, a subject and the self becomes the subject and the object. That subject is now taking the role of the waker, of the dreamer, of the deep sleeper, with respect to the object called the waking world, the dream world and the deep sleep world. Subject and object. This is the phenomena. But who are you? You are the one who observes the phenomena. He is not the phenomena. You are the observer of the phenomena. And is that not your experience on a daily basis? Then why do we live as the phenomena and not take one step back and watch the phenomena? Problem is only in the phenomena. In the absolute there are no problems. And the moment you accept yourself to be a phenomena means what? I was born one day and I'll die one day. This is phenomena. Immediately differences come about. Immediately pain, joy, pleasure, etc. You will be buffeted by everything. But here, coming to this position, coming to this realization that it is the real me, the I that I am, alone is expressing as the waker, alone is supporting the waker, dreamer, deep sleeper, but it is at any given moment independent of all the three. Just like ocean is supporting all the waves, but is transcendental to the waves and the oceans. Similarly, this I that I have come to realize myself to be without a thought, directly, aparokshanubhuti, this Kevala, this one, he supports the Vijatiya Bhed, the waker, dreamer, deep sleeper, but does not come down to be at that level.
becomes easier too. It just doesn't all happen all at once. It sort of builds, not in time, but
What?
this knowledge, disidentification from the objective world. First of all, you have to sort of practice being the witness.
Yeah, the
type
child is
thing.
never child is not identified. The environment, the training, they make you get identified. Child is not identified.
No, but when we grow up, we're all identified with everything else but what we are.
Because of whatever reasons. Let's not find out reasons, rather than instead find a way back to our original. If we start finding reasons, but when I was born, your attention is on being born. Our attention, no, I'm just saying, and our attention has to be, whatever inquiry we are doing, our inquiry must lead to the self. Not try to justify, comment on, get frustrated about the phenomena. That is important. And whatever the teacher is doing in this entire text is, with every verse, he is bringing us back to that one, back to that one, back to that one. No justification. No justification. His attempt is to expand your consciousness. Right now your consciousness is on account of matter. Subject is always because of object. Waker is only because of dreamer. Right now you are a waker, isn't it? This is the phenomena expressing. So what is he trying to attempt? He is bringing to our cognition that even while this phenomena of waker and waking world is continuing, recognize, discover that you are that one. If you give validity to the phenomena, you can never be the one. Initially you have to give zero value to the phenomena. And if you are afraid what will happen to the phenomena, I love my husband, I love my children, don't worry. After coming to know that you are the one, the phenomena will be there. You will still call your child my dear child. But there will be no attachment. There will be no ownership.
But this doesn't happen overnight.
It can.
Well,
It can.
I suppose it can. I just think
Because
myself,
realization is not a, there is no answer, one answer to it. When you follow the Kundalini path, when you follow the path of devotion, when you follow the path of Kriya Yoga, when you follow the path of knowledge, the understanding is slowly building up. But when it happens, it will happen instantaneously. It will not happen as all that slow process of growth is only about your conviction. But when the merging will take place, when the one will be realized that I am that, it is instantaneous. And in that one moment of spontaneous combustion, your entire individuality will be burned away. Then individuality cannot raise its hood. You will still be sleeping, you will still be waking, you may or may not dream, but there will be no, that is happening at the level of mind, but there is no waker, there is no dreamer, and there is no deep sleeper. Why? Only the self is. So thinking that I am the waker, dreamer and deep sleeper is on account of identification. Realization cuts that cord of identification. You still are. Before, so you, on account of identification, you are a wife, but actually you are a woman. When divorce happens, then what happens? Only the cord of identification is cut. You come back to be the original. Exactly the same way. You cut the cord of identification, the waking world, dream world, deep sleep world, you come to yourself, the phenomena will still continue. The same waker has different experiences at different times, and when one is able to accept these different experiences as a part of oneself, the Sajatiya Bhed has been overcome. As long as we keep the whole world as separate to ourselves, the Vijatiya Bhed, different species, I am not you. But once you start seeing that the entire waking world is being supported by me, I alone, that is the mind alone, is expressing as the waker and the waking world. Now what has happened? One species, first it was me and the world. Now what is happening? The whole world is nothing, is not other than me. Everything that is taking place in the world is taking place in me only. Sajatiya Bhed. So from differences on account of two different things, now you have come to differences within the species. Mind is the species now, and within it, I, subject and the object, both are thoughts. The waker and the waking world are both thoughts, dreamer and the dreamer, within one. First it was taken to be separate, the world was separate and I am separate. Now you are seeing the world also in you and the self also in you. These are, if you start thinking like this, you will vanish. Without your knowledge, you will vanish. The Sajate Bhed has been overcome, and the same experience gives me joy at times and no joy at others. Renewal of the Swagata Bhed brings equipoise. In this way, Vijatiya, Sajatiya, Swagata Bhed, Rahita, Vastu, Kevalam, this is the Kaivalya Tattva, Swagata Bhed, that some differences always bring about some joy or some sorrow. When we come to recognize this, that this joy and sorrow that is taking place to whom? To me. So you have come to the one, that all this is in me only, and you come to the Swagata base. What are the Swagata? Within me all the differences are. What are the different? So head, nose, legs, etc. So now from the difference within me, I have come to the one unit, that I, the self, alone is experiencing the joy and the sorrows, and you become the witness of that. That also is dropped. The joy and sorrow is also dropped. Seeing that, then where does the attention go? On the one who is experiencing the joy and sorrows. So when our attention is on joy and sorrows, we will keep getting buffeted up and down. But when our attention is on the one who is experiencing the joy and sorrow, so your attention is not on the experience, but your attention is on the experiencer, then even that last bit of difference also gets dissolved. You go beyond it. The second meaning of Kaivalya is that where the Triputi of knower known knowledge is manifested, but there is no limitation due to the Triputi. Although the Samvit, the pure consciousness, expresses as Triputi, its Kevalata is not contaminated by that difference. Just like the gold may express as many ornaments, but the oneness of the gold is not contaminated by the expression of many ornaments. The water is not contaminated by expression of many waves and oceans. Exactly the same way, the Kevalata, that oneness that I am, it is not contaminated by the multiplicity. And what is the multiplicity? Waker, dreamer, deep sleeper. What is the multiplicity here? The mother, the wife, the daughter, the sister, the friend. But why do these different roles that are taking place out of you, why do they become a source of problem? Because your attention is not on the self, your attention is on that because of which you have become a mother. Your attention is on the husband because of which you have become the wife. The wife becomes the miserable. But while playing those roles, if your attention within you is always on that one who is supporting all the roles, you will not become miserable. See, space doesn't get become miserable because it is supporting so many room spaces or house spaces or pot spaces. Consciousness doesn't get disturbed because it is expressing through so many people as individual consciousness. Individual consciousness is the phenomena. Pure consciousness is what is. So if you are getting disturbed, it is because you have considered yourself to be individual consciousness. Where you are touching the wave, when you are touching a wave, you are touching the ocean and you are touching the water. Where is your attention? On the wave, on the ocean, or on the water? When I am touching the individual, I am touching the total, or I am touching the absolute at the same time. Where is your attention? If your attention is on, I am touching this body, then you are individual. I am touching my soul. So where is your attention? That will determine what is your response, what is your perception of this world. In this way, I, the Supreme Being, Samviti, has never fallen down from my essential being. Although I play all my allotted roles in this world, all these trios are just my glory, but I am not affected by any one of them. Coming to this realization that I am that one, from that point Jnaneshwar Maharaj is speaking. When he looks out, having realized the self, by being the self, what does he realize? That I support all the roles, but I am not enslaved by any of the roles that I play. Isn't that the disposition of the water and the gold? So is it. And when I am speaking like this, you are understanding, but you have to abide in that. You have to abide in that. The third meaning is with reference to the Jiva Jagat Ishvara factors, out of which 5 types of Vedas differences arise. Difference between, first, the Jiva and the Jiva, individual versus individual. Second, difference between Jagat and Jagat, this world and the other world. Third, between Jiva and Jagat, that is, between the individual and the world, this is the difference. Fourth, Jiva and Ishvara, the difference between the individual and the total, the Lord. And the fifth, the Jagat and the Ishvara, that the difference between the world and the infinite, the Lord, the totality. These 5 together constitute the realm of plurality. All these 5 differences between individual versus individual, me, I versus you, I versus I, you are also calling yourself I also call myself I. But if we are separate, I versus the world versus the Lord, the total, and the total versus the and the world versus the world versus the world, because there is not one world. There is a physical world, there is a mental world, there is, as we say, Bhurva, Swata, the different worlds are there. So all these differences, they are a part, one rule, all differences are part of the phenomena, they are part of the plurality. And I am watching this plurality, I know this plurality, I am experiencing this plurality, then who am I? Come to be. Don't define yourself on the basis of plurality. This is what we are doing and suffering on account of that. In this absolute being of my pure existence, these five Vedas continue to express like a great drama, yet the oneness is never broken down to manyness. Even after realization, this grand phenomena, this grand drama, this is what is called the Leela in the devotional texts. This Leela continues. But you are not affected by it. Why? Your attention is always on the oneness. And where is that oneness? How is it expressing? I'm asking. How is that oneness expressing? As I am. All this I am. Someone asked me, Swami, whom do you belong to? This is a normal question. Their attention is, whom do you belong to? Which organization you belong to? Which teacher you belong to? Which, I said, I belong everywhere and nowhere. And he just shrugged his head, crazy fellow, walked away. Good riddance. Who wants to answer? Everywhere and nowhere. So where is the phenomena existing? It's existing nowhere. It's existing in its own absence, and yet it is seen everywhere, isn't it? Where is space existing? Everywhere. And why nowhere? Because space is not an object of cognition. It is existing in its own absence. Similarly, where are all the roles expressing? The father, the mother, the daughter, the sister. Everywhere and nowhere. When you start, come out of this gravity of individuality. And the only way you can come out of this gravity of individuality is when you apply yourself to contemplate on some larger vision. And if you can't do that, then hold on to the name of the Lord. He will pull you out of that gravity. Just like the sleep, which is total space, empty space, it pulls you out of the gravity of the individuality and the world and gives you the rest that you need to rejuvenate and continue your suffering next day. But you have an experience where the sleep also, you apply yourself to it, you think about it, and without doing anything you withdraw from the phenomena, isn't it? Into a larger phenomena called sleep. Sleep is a phenomena, but it's that which gives you more peace and joy and bliss compared to the worldly phenomena. When we keep thinking of that divine in and through all our activities, by being that one, it will pull us out of this phenomena of differences, of sense of otherness. With this, Jnaneshwar Maharaj says, this is my experience of Amrutanubhava. This experience of my being cannot be expressed in words, nor can it be comprehended by the Jnanendriyas, by the gross senses. It cannot be experienced. And he is not saying anything different from what Upanishads declare. They say we cannot tell what the truth is, but we can indicate, because yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasasa. The truth, the reality is that where we use the words to explain the reality, but the words cannot illuminate the reality. The mind thinks, but it cannot comprehend the reality. So both become important. And that's exactly what Jnaneshwar Maharaj is saying. He says, this experience of my being cannot be expressed in words because they are very limited. They are finite in nature. Nor can it be comprehended by the senses, which are only Jnanendriyas, the senses and the mind. It cannot be because they only illuminate the objective experience. They cannot illuminate the subject itself. It is because of the subject that the six senses, the mind and the five senses, they are functioning, but they cannot illuminate their source. Keno Upanishad. So with this, in this way, contemplate, Jnaneshwar Maharaj says, and now we will see in the next class what he continues. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.